last part of the number correct.
I got a text to come in. I'm just going to stay muted because I'm working and I'm driving and the van is very loud and it's very disturbing for the call. So I'm going to stay muted. And can I raise my hand if I have a question? Is it *2 or something like that?
You can just jump in anytime. You can just unmute yourself and jump in anytime if you have a question.
Okay. All right. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Right on.
Okay. I don't know. Should we wait another minute or jump right in?
Might as well jump right in.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost 25 after, so. Okay, so last week, okay, let me see how to share screen. Okay, you guys can see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I called from my phone, so I don't know how to get into the view mode.
I don't either. Does anybody know? Other than going to zoom.us and click join a meeting and put the meeting ID in. Do you want to go do that so you can see the screen?
Oh, just type in the meeting ID. Okay.
I wish I was better at this program. So last week we discussed jurisdiction, and I said that this week I would give you Supreme Court rulings and what else did I say I would do? Oh, I said I would show you some traffic codes, so we've got that. So we've got stuff on jurisdiction and the Supreme Court rulings on that. We've got stuff on traffic, and then we'll answer any questions anyone has. Okay, so on jurisdiction, I thought I would just start out by sharing one of my cases, one of my papers. I mean, it's filed in the court, so anybody can see it. So, this is one I filed into the case. Now, this is the case where, the court took my home. I never got a single day in court in this action.
Oh.
I filed some papers, but when I went down sick, they just took my house while I was unconscious. So anyway, in this, one of the first things I always do is, challenge jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is one of the only ways we've been seeing people win. So, definitely always challenge jurisdiction. It should be the first thing you do. And you should just keep standing on it. Now, just because you do challenge it does not mean that they're going to honor it. Doesn't mean they're going to do what they're supposed to do. So just understand that, okay? So anyway, just to show you what we've been talking about a little bit when we talk about jurisdiction, we're just going to go over this. It's not too long, I don't think. So Tomball Independent School District was coming after me, and this was in the 284th in Montgomery County. And this, you'll see, was back in 2018. Okay? So I went by special appearance, and this is a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. I want them to dismiss it with prejudice, and what that means is it can't be brought back again. So we have, now comes NannetteCarley appearing for NannetteCarley Movement, alleged defendant in above title number cause by and through special appearance and without assistance of counsel for her defense, not submitting to the court's jurisdiction, not intentionally, knowingly, involuntarily waiving any of her rights, who hereby moves that the 284th District Court, Montgomery County, or its alternate substitute successor or assignee show their authority to adjudicate this alleged cause of action pursuant to the required rules of civil procedure 12 FRCP 4 United States Constitution and or common law. Grounds are set forth below. The court is further requested to provide full findings of fact and conclusion of law if the court denies this motion. In other words, they're going to have to tell me how they came up with that. If they want to deny this thing, you tell me by what findings of fact and what conclusions on the law you do that, because you can't do that. So there has to be jurisdiction, okay? Number one, the jurisdiction of this court is being challenged. Once jurisdiction is challenged, it must be proven. Now, here's where you show them what you're standing on. These court cases, okay? Once jurisdiction is challenged, the court cannot proceed when it clearly appears that the court lacks jurisdiction. The court has no authority to reach merits, but rather should dismiss the action. Okay? The next one says the burden shifts to the court to prove jurisdiction. Rosemont versus Lambert. There is no discretion to ignore that lack of jurisdiction. The court must prove on the record all jurisdiction facts related to the jurisdiction asserted. The law provides that once state and federal jurisdiction has been challenged, it must be proven. Okay? That's real important. That Maine versus Thibodeau is, man, that one sentence is powerful. Once jurisdiction has been challenged, it must be proven. Okay? Now, let's talk about number two. Jurisdiction may be challenged at any time. Jurisdiction can be challenged at any time. Jurisdiction, once challenged, cannot be assumed and must be decided. Okay, they can't just say they have jurisdiction. It has to be proven, like it said before, on the record. Defense of lack of jurisdiction over the subject matter may be raised at any time, even on appeal. Okay? Hilltop Developers versus Holiday Pines Service Corp. Thus, where a judicial tribunal has no jurisdiction over the subject matter on which it assumes to act, its proceedings are absolutely void in the fullest sense of the term. Absolutely void. So, if jurisdiction has been challenged, it has to be proven. And when they don't have subject matter jurisdiction, it's completely void. Without jurisdiction, all orders, judgments, liens, and levies are null and void. Now, these are Supreme Court rulings, okay? They can't get past this stuff. However, don't expect them not to pull what we call a fluff. It's a nice word for something else, but it's tactics they pull so that they have you either way. We got you coming or going, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, we have you. So we call that fluff. You know, we're going to make this rule, then we're going to make that rule, and I mean, who knows what the rules are anymore. But the law is clear. So what we have to do is hold these guys accountable. Without jurisdiction, all judgments, liens, and levies are null and void. Without subject matter jurisdiction, all orders and judgments issued by a judge are void under the law and are of no legal force or effect. So if they didn't have jurisdiction and they made a ruling, it's of no legal force or effect. A universal principle as old as the law is that the proceedings of a court without jurisdiction are a nullity, and its judgment therein without effect either on person or property. Jurisdiction is fundamental, and a judgment rendered by a court that does not have jurisdiction to hear is void ab initio. Ab initio means from the beginning, from the get-go. If they didn't have jurisdiction, they couldn't do anything from day one, and that's why you want to challenge them on day one. Nip it in the bud. It doesn't mean, like I said, that they won't ignore that and just do what they want anyway, but okay. Irrespective of the particular statutory authority on which the court relies to take jurisdiction and enter orders in Montgomery County, that certain constitution ordained and established September. Look, September. Little typo there, huh? September 17th, 1787, and implemented March 4th, 1789, Independence Hall, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Constitution must have given the court capacity to take it. As regards all courts of the United States inferior to this tribunal, two things are necessary to create jurisdiction. Whether original or appellate. The Constitution must have given the court the capacity to take it, and an act of Congress must have supplied it. Their occurrence is necessary to vest it. It can be brought into activity in no other way. So, if it's a court, in order to even have jurisdiction, the Constitution had to give them capacity to take it, which is seldom the case. And an act of Congress must have supplied it. Okay, it's pretty clear. The United States Supreme Court has clearly and repeatedly held that any judge who acts without jurisdiction is engaged in an act of treason. This is serious. This is, I guess, as serious as you can get. I mean, they're acting in treason in every case that they move without jurisdiction, and it happens all the time. Whereas there is no provision of the Constitution that gives this court the capacity to take jurisdiction or enter an order against respondent in Montgomery County, Texas, the instant suit must be dismissed with prejudice for the court's lack of constitutional authority to take it. Number 5, regardless of any erroneous admissions, errors, payments, or filings, the property at question is private, not personal, real, or any other such sort of property as the state of Texas or Tomball Independent School District may assert, and is therefore not subject to any constitutional or ad valorem taxes, and is owned by myself, NannetteCarley, a natural living free woman, not, as the plaintiff states, NannetteCarley. I'm the owner of the property at question, do not own commercial, real, or personal taxable property. Since the Constitution prohibits ad valorem taxes and the federal government does not have the power to tax private property and cannot grant the state or local level the privilege to tax private property either. A fraud is a fraud. The fact the fraud has been perpetuated and successfully carried out for many years does not make it right or lawful. An unconstitutional act is not a law. It confers no rights, it imposes no duties, it affords no protections, it creates no office. It is, in legal contemplation, as inoperative as though it had never been passed. Okay, now, what do you do about it, and what are the penalties if they violate your rights? Well, you have deprivation of rights under color of law. That's section 242 of Title 18. So you can put in Google 18 USC 242 and it'll pull this up, Title 18 242. Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds of that official's authority. If the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in performance of his or her official duties. Persons acting under color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as judges. Where'd I go? As well as judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others who are acting as public officials. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by animus toward the race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of the victim. Okay? The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to a life term or the death penalty, depending upon the circumstances of the crime and the resulting injury, if any. Okay? Then we have Title 18, Section 242. Whoever, under any color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or the laws of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if the acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of a dangerous weapon, explosives, or fire, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if acts include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years, or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. Okay, and that comes right off the justice.gov website. Okay, that's 18 USC 241 and 242. It's deprivation of rights under color of law. Further attempts to move forward with this case will only demonstrate the courts, the judges, and Tomball Independent School District's deliberate attempt to defraud the people of their property and will be subject to penalties under Texas Constitution Article 5, Judicial Department, as well as USC Title 18, Section 242. Texas Constitution Article 5, Judicial Department. So I'm going to kind of skim through this and just go over the highlights. This is talking about any judge can be removed for office for willful or persistent violation of rules, incompetence in performing the duties of the office, willful violation of the Code of Judicial Conduct, willful or persistent conduct that is clearly inconsistent with the proper performance of his or her duty, or cast public discredit upon the judiciary or administration of justice. Any person holding such office may be disciplined or censured in lieu of a removal from office. But they may be suspended from office without pay by the commission immediately on being indicted by a state or federal grand jury for felony offense or charged a misdemeanor involving official misconduct. And that's done on the filing of a sworn complaint. So, and then here it goes on, incompetence in performing the duties of the office, willful violation of the Code of Judicial Conduct, willful and persistent conduct that's inconsistent with proper performance of their duty, may recommend the suspension of such person from office, with or without pay, pending final decision. We talked about contracts. In order to have jurisdiction, you have to have either damaged someone and their someone and or their property, or you had to have broken a contract. And so movement further asserts, because neither the Honorable Judge presiding over the so-called 284th Court of Montgomery County, Texas, nor Brian Ludwig, Director of Property Tax Administration at Tomball Independent School District, is a commissioned officer of the United States or the state of Texas. Neither is a government office. Both are private sector workers. The organization over which each administers and which issued the subject Tomball Independent School District Administrative Summons, i.e. Tomball ISD, is not part of the government. Tomball Independent School District is a private sector organization. The only cause of action a private sector business such as Tomball Independent School District could bring against a movement is for breach of contract. There is no evidence of any contract between Tomball Independent School District and movement. Therefore, the government's case must be dismissed under Rule 12b-6 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure for failure to state a claim on which relief can be granted. Now, remember last week we talked about jurisdiction equals standing equals a claim. Okay, here is standing. And a lot of attorneys use standing and say you have no standing, you have no claim, because of 12b-6. And all 12b-6 says is you didn't state a claim on which relief can be granted. So, improper service is not going to matter to y'all. And then I just put, I moved the court to dismiss with prejudice for lack of jurisdiction. Now, there's a whole lot in this package, and I want to go back to something else on here that I said I should go back and talk to them about that. Well, one is I did kind of skip over this. Maybe I shouldn't have. Movement further search Tomball Independent School District has no authority to tax or private property which is located outside Harris County. The county Tomball Independent School District claims to service. Tomball Independent School District, a corporation posing as taxing authority inside Harris County, has no right to collect taxes on, file suit against, or make any claim on my private property in Montgomery County, even if it did have the power to tax private property, which it does not. Moreover, for a debt to be valid, it must be a valid contractual obligation. Tomball Independent School District has not provided any valid proof of debt under Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That's the FDCPA. FDCPA is Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That's one you're going to get into if you start having any problems with debt collectors, or sometimes the child support people. You know, the husband and wife are trying to work it out or whatever, and the child support people just come and get like all in the middle and cause problems. Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is one that can be brought against private corporations, and this is what these are. And speaking of, I'm going to show you that they are. I don't have, I don't know, hold on. Okay, alright, this is Dun and Bradstreet. For any of you that don't know what Dun and Bradstreet is, Dun and Bradstreet is kind of like TransUnion or Equifax, but for businesses. It reports on businesses, and it stores documents like this, has their business background and all that stuff. So here is a business background report, okay? And this is the judiciary courts of the state of Texas, okay? Here's its DUNS number. That's its Dun and Bradstreet number. It's called the DUNS number. This was printed in 2008, and it says it's a subsidiary of Texas State of Austin, Texas. At this address, the Supreme Court building, here's their phone number. It says that they were started in 1845, and that this is a headquarter location. Their top executive, now see, here's where it starts getting interesting. Why do they have an executive? Who has executives? Companies, maybe? Corporations have executives? Governments don't have executives. Governments have public servants. And let's go on and see if it gets any more interesting. So, industry line of business is a state court system. And then it says their SIC code. An SIC code, if you don't know, it's just like how businesses list themselves by number so they can group types of businesses together so you can easily find a kind of business. And then let's see. Business history. Now it's getting really interesting, folks. Look here what we have. The corporate details provided below may have been submitted by the management of the subject business and have not been verified with any government agency which records such data. Okay, business type. Look at this right here. What does that say?
The corporation for profit.
Haha. Look at that. So, wait a minute. What was this? Our judiciary courts? are for-profit corporation. Okay? It's right here. Says it was incorporated on 00/00/1836. So I don't even know how you have a date like that. But anyway, and apparently Thomas Phillips is the Chief Justice, and then it has some directors. So it says the business was started by the citizens, and then Thomas Phillips, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas since 1986. So that looks pretty interesting there. If they're a subsidiary of Texas State of, then that means Texas State of must be a corporation too. And this is for profit. So you see right there that the courts are for profit. You can look up the courts, the states, the cities, the counties, police departments. You can look up all of them and see. Now, let's see. Here we go. Okay. Can y'all see this? It says Texas Transportation Code.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then I got it in the right place. Okay. This is Texas Transportation Code, and this is about driver's licenses. And I'm going to show you. I had it lined up on the other one. Sorry, let me find it again. Alright, right here at the very top. I just wanted to be able to get a sip. I'll come back and do it. It says, license means an authorization to operate a motor vehicle that is issued under or granted by the laws of this state. Now, the important word is this state. This. That's a very important word. This state. What do they mean, this state? Well, remember on the document we just looked at, that was a corporation. Are they talking about the de jure, the true state of Texas, or are they talking about some de facto fake this state of Texas? The corporation for profit. So are they talking about a for-profit corporation when they say this state? What state do they mean? What is this? So that's a very important term because this state actually means that for-profit corporation. And you're under no obligation to them. It's like if, Walmart came and said I had to have this or that permit for my house. I'd be like, get out of here. What are you kidding me? It's insane. Go away. So keep that in mind. Every little word's important in the law. We talked about that last week. And that's why you need to clear your terms, and you need to read very carefully what you get. And you need to make them define what they're talking about. In this case, what is this state? Okay, but back to license. License means an authorization to operate a motor vehicle is issued and granted by the laws of this state. The term includes a driver's license. Okay, well, that must be listed, a definition of that somewhere else, and it is. But B, let's look at B. The privilege of a person to operate a motor vehicle regardless of whether the person holds a license. So license means the privilege to drive whether you hold a license or not. And I know we talked last week about this right here, that's my license to pass. And it's my license to pass because it says right here on page 1, the secretary, and I'm going to show you. Here's your passport. I'm going to read. Where am I going to read? I'm going to read right here. I'm going to let y'all get a screenshot of that if you can. And then I'm going to read you that. It says the Secretary of State of the United States of America hereby requests all whom it may concern to permit the citizen/national of the United States named herein to pass without delay or hindrance, and in case of need, to give all lawful aid and protection. So, and if you look just beneath that, they also have it in French and Spanish, I believe. Okay? So, that's my license. That's my passport. And it says that I'm able to pass without delay or hindrance. Permitted to pass without delay or hindrance. So, there you go. And we talked a little bit last week about nationals. I think somebody might have wanted to know this week, if you're on the call and you wanted to know about national status, just ask me and we'll go into that. Okay, now let's look at something else. So that clears up license, because apparently you don't have to have a license according to this. Now, we also have Supreme Court rulings on driver's licenses where they say there is no such thing. Charging with driving without a license charges no offense. We have lots of those. Okay, we had talked last week also about how the signs on the road were not erected for us. They're erected for specific people, and it names it in the law. This is Texas Transportation Code Section 201904. Speed signs. It says, the department shall erect and maintain on the highways and roads of this state. See, there's that word again. Of this state, appropriate signs that show the maximum lawful speed for commercial motor vehicles, truck tractors, truck trailers, truck semi-trailers, and motor vehicles engaged in the business of transporting passengers for compensation or hire. In other words, buses. Now, where does it say there your Toyota Tundra or your, VW Beetle? Where does it say any private vehicle here? It doesn't. This is not these signs. And that's why I said when I got stopped, I said that doesn't pertain to me. I don't care about your speed limit. That doesn't have anything to do with me. And this is why it doesn't have anything to do with me, because it tells you right here who it has to do with. It has to do with who? Commercial motor vehicles, truck tractors, truck trailers, truck semi-trailers, and motor vehicles engaged in the business of transporting passengers for compensation or hire. It doesn't say anything about me and my private vehicle, my private property. So that's why last week I was talking about, Those signs on the road don't have anything to do with you now. You can look in your state and look up all these laws. It's real easy to do. All you have to do is go to Google, type in, in this case, I put Texas Transportation Code speed signs, or signs, or driver's license, or whatever it is you want to look up. Just put that in Google and it'll tell you right where to go. All right. Now, lastly, I have somebody asked me, because we had got into the conversation about, now, somebody had asked me about probable cause. Okay, can y'all see on the screen probable cause?
Yes.
Okay. So, remember when I talked about like when they stop you, and that's whether you're walking, whether you're driving or traveling, or whether you're at your house or at somebody, no matter where, if they stop you, they have to have a probable cause to even engage you. Otherwise, they have no right to even speak to you. So, somebody had asked me, well, if speeding and no tags and all of that is not probable cause, what is probable cause? Well, here we go to Cornell and law.cornell.edu. I told y'all this one is a great resource. When you Google something, if it pulls up law.cornell.edu as a resource, that's always the first one I go to, because they always have it exactly as it is in the law. They're a very good resource, and I suggest supporting them. So it says, definition: probable cause is a requirement found in the Fourth Amendment. This is why we recommend everybody start with the Constitution. You have to know the law of the land. If you're going to live here, you need to know the law of the land. So the Constitution is like really where you need to start on learning law. And so it says probable cause is a requirement found in the Fourth Amendment that must usually be met before police make an arrest, conduct a search, or receive a warrant. Courts usually find probable cause when there is a reasonable basis for believing that a crime may have been committed, or an arrest, or when the evidence of a crime is present in the place to be searched for a search warrant. Under exigent circumstances, probable cause can also justify a warrantless search and seizure. Now, exigent circumstances, they try to be real liberal with that, but let's be honest. Really what it means is if they see a bloody body sticking out of your trunk, they pretty much don't need a search warrant. If they see a bloody leg hanging out, or somebody comes running screaming bloody out of your house, then they probably don't need a search warrant. They probably get to just go right on in. So but that's, it has to be really serious circumstances for them to be able to go in without a search warrant. It has to be like, they saw something, or there were too many witnesses that saw something, that it has to be pretty serious for them to come in without a warrant, or any kind of search warrant or anything. Persons arrested without a warrant are required to be brought before a competent authority shortly after the arrest for prompt judicial determination of a probable cause. So they have to take you, it says, shortly after the arrest for a determination of probable cause. That's if you're arrested without a warrant. A lot of times they issue these, what they call capious warrants. KPS warrant is not a real warrant. A real warrant, they can bust down your front door and come in and get you, or whatever is on the search warrant. If you have a traffic ticket and they have a KPS warrant, you can stand right inside your house, open the window and look at them. They can know it's you and they can't come in, as happened in my case. I told you I speak from experience. So, yeah, those KPS warrants, like a bench, they call it a bench warrant, like traffic ticket cases and all those stupid little cases. They try to act like they have a real court. They really don't. So I'm just going to kind of go over that basic definition. If you want to, now you know where to go and look it up, and you can read the whole article. I suggest you get very familiar with this law.cornell.edu. They have all kinds of legal help for you here as far as looking up things and information and stuff. There we go. Okay, so that should have answered like a whole lot of questions. We went over jurisdiction. We went over some of the Supreme Court rulings about jurisdiction. And we went over some traffic stuff showing that those traffic signs do not apply to you. That's why when the cops stopped me and they told me they stopped me for speeding, I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with me. That doesn't pertain to me. That's not probable cause. Why are you bothering me? And that's why. Because in, 201.904, it says who those signs are for. And it's for commercial vehicles. It is not for private individuals traveling in their private carriages. So basically, they a lot of times use those traffic things as a convenient excuse to be able to get into your vehicle, to be able to bring you under some kind of other charges or get you into jail. So don't let them do it. Like I said last week, the way I handle a traffic stop is I go on the offensive straight away. I don't let them take control of the conversation. I take control from the get-go. Because they're my public servant. So they need to answer my questions, right, old man?
That's right.
They're my public servant, so they need to be answering to me. So as soon as they come to my window, I start asking them, what's the emergency? Because, they usually have their lights on. And I ask them, what's your emergency? Well, I pulled you over for speeding, running a stop sign, running a light, your tag's out, whatever. I tell them that's not an emergency. You've engaged your overhead lights, your emergency lights, and now you're creating a traffic hazard. And what's the emergency? You don't even have an emergency. What's your probable cause? They don't have probable cause either. So if I do give them anything, I might give them my passport. But then again, I might tell them to shove it on that one too. Depends how I feel that day. But usually I'll give them my passport, and then I don't give them anything else, because none of it's any of their business until they tell me what their probable cause is for pulling me over. And again, probable cause means you suspect me of committing a crime. You have something that is some kind of reasonable evidence that says I'm suspected of committing a crime. And if they can't come up with that, they don't have any right to talk to me. And then, I'll probably, if they don't let me go immediately, I'll probably tell them to call for a supervisor. And then I'll tell the supervisor the same thing. Yeah, sir, we've got a problem here because your charge here has initiated his emergency overhead lights when there was none. That's a felony. Creating an emergency where there is none is a felony. So your guys enacted his overhead lights when there was no emergency. Now he's creating a traffic hazard by pulling me over here and blocking the traffic. And he has no probable cause for pulling me over. So usually when you tell the sergeant or whoever they've called out, whoever's the supervisor, usually when you tell him that, he's going to go back, he's going to talk to the guy and say, go give her her passport back. Clear the scene and get out of here. Am I right, old man?
Yeah.
Now, if they don't, and they want to get smart and they want to keep on and they do want to try to issue you a ticket, you don't have to sign it. And you can tell them, let's go see the magistrate. You can go see the magistrate. They can't arrest you. And they have to let you go see the magistrate. Let's go to the magistrate right now and clear this matter up. Most of the time they don't have a magistrate sitting there waiting, so you're probably not going to be in any trouble there.
Now, the court systems that I've had a little bit of dealings with, they have a magistrate there 24 hours a day.
Okay, in that case, you go before the magistrate and you tell the magistrate that this clown enacted his overhead lights when there was no emergency. He enacted his emergency lights, that he created a traffic hazard by pulling you over in the road, and that he had no probable cause to pull you over. He had no probable cause. So, and then if they want to talk about traffic and whatever, then you need to start talking about jurisdiction. Make them prove that they have jurisdiction. That might be a little bit harder if you have a driver's license, but even then, I don't know, oh man, what do you think? Even with a driver's license, I think they would have a hard time proving jurisdiction other than to say your driver's license is your contract. That's kind of the problem with having a driver's license.
They usually, when they pull you over, when he gets out of the car, he's already decided before he's even spoken with you
Yep.
if he give you a citation or not.
That's a fact. That's a fact. But if you do have to go before the magistrate and you do have a driver's license, see, that's why I don't have one, because that driver's license really is a contract saying I agree to follow all your rules. And so that's why I don't have one, because I don't want to make myself subject to any contracts with this state.
Make a public records request to the Transportation Department and ask them for the law that allows them to issue private vehicle license. They have the commercial, but they don't have private.
Right.
And so they end up that they cannot respond to it because there's no law where they have issued, the legislature has not issued a law saying that here are the terms for issuing a license.
Yeah.
They have it only for commercial.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is they do keep changing the codes because we use little things like that against them, and then they go in there and they change it. But you're exactly right on that. Yeah. They claim to have a lot of authority that they don't have, and that's how a lot of people get into trouble, is because they believe that the state, the county, the city, whoever it is, has some kind of authority that they actually don't. And that's
They
how...
only have the authority that we, the people, have given to them. And if it's not listed in the Constitution, then they do not have that authority, that those are rights that we have retained. Those are not, they're not rights that we've given to the government. We have, which
Right.
is a bigger portion of the law, is our rights that we retained.
And this is why we need to know the law. A lot of people, I took 2 phone calls, I think, today of people that are working on legislation in different areas. Oh, we have to make a law against this. We have to ban this and we have to ban that. And you really don't. We don't need more laws. We have laws. We have common law that says anytime you hurt me or my property, you're in trouble. I don't have to have a specific law against a specific new drug or specific law against a specific weapon or a specific tactic or anything else. If you damage me or my property, you've broken the law. That's the bottom line. And people need to realize that. And as long as you haven't done that to somebody else, you haven't broken the law. They want to make you convinced that the state can pick up the charges or that, you've somehow broken the law. But, if you haven't hurt anybody or their property or you haven't broken a contract, you haven't. I mean, there has to be some damages and somebody claiming something. So this is why always, 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 always jurisdiction. And it takes practice and it takes time. Old man can tell you he listened to a tape of a court date of mine just, how long ago was that? Like
2 months ago.
3 months?
Yeah.
And listen, I've been talking jurisdiction for a decade. First thing you do is jurisdiction. First thing you do, jurisdiction. And you heard me go in that court and I didn't utter a word about it, did I? Until right at the end. I was so mad at myself, but let me tell you why. Because they get you so messed up. I don't care how well you know it by heart, you better go in there with notes.
Yep.
You better go in with notes. Even if you got a game plan, you know what you're doing. Because what'll happen, you'll go in there and they will say some of the most outrageous stuff you've ever heard in your life. And you'll be flabbergasted and you'll be shocked and you'll forget everything you were supposed to say and do. Anybody's been to court and been harassed will tell you I'm correct. That can and does happen. They call it legal abuse syndrome. If you have been abused by the court or judicial or law enforcement systems, you can have what's called legal abuse syndrome. And it does that to you. It makes you a little bit scatterbrained, right? You get foggy, you get confused because of the abuse. You're triggered. And so if you go into court, definitely have notes, have a plan. What you're gonna, even seasoned attorneys do that. And they're wise to do so.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking going in a court with no notes, just thinking, I know what I'm gonna do. Don't do that. Okay, we went over a lot. Anybody got any questions or anything else they want to talk about or bring up or ask about?
Question.
Uh-huh.
What source do you use for your different sites that you have, that you listed in the Tomball case?
Oh, what source do I have for getting those? They're real hard. See, that's the problem. That's why people have trouble in the courts, is because in order to get them, you got to pay lots and lots of money through the PACER system. It's like 10 cents a page. It's very expensive to go through them. And the government has been very good at hiding Supreme Court decisions from us because they don't want us to know the law and be able to defend ourselves. So they're very hard to find. I got a lot of them from Cornforth, Rich Cornforth. You can go to richardcornforth.com, and he's got materials for sale. He's going to be joining us on some of these Zoom calls to answer questions on his materials. He also has some videos, a series of videos that people should watch. That series of videos is on YouTube. It's called Secrets of the Legal Industry. That'll give you some good basic knowledge. Again, back to jurisdiction, but he covers some other good basic fundamentals that everybody needs to. So, Secrets of the Legal Industry, usually you'll see it in 3 parts. Part 1, 2, and 3. And then now there are 7 libraries, I think 7, around the US that have free access to PACER. If you're lucky enough to be near one of those libraries, you might get access to the PACER system through that library. What 7 libraries they are, I don't know. But I believe it's openresource.org. They did something called I think they called it a thumb drive army. And what they did is they sent people out with thumb drives to those 7 libraries to get as many Supreme Court cases as they could. And they put them on those thumb drives, and they're supposed to be available somewhere at open.resource.org. So look them up, see if you can find anything there. They're also good people to support. They spend a lot of money trying to get the law and then give it to us for free. But still, it's not all there. And then beyond that, you can pay for the PACER system. Those are the only sources I have. So it's not like we have every Supreme Court case there ever was. But if somebody cites one, we generally go there and try to just get the holding, so you don't have to pay for and wade through the whole case. You can get the gist of what the case is about maybe, and then just get the holding. So you can look it up on PACER if you've got funds. We've got a library of some. If you have a particular subject, we might have some rulings on that. Most of our stuff is going to have to do with jurisdiction, citizenship, traffic, and all the places they try to get people into criminal stuff. That's probably what most of ours will pertain to, but we'll be happy to share anything we've got. I tried to slow that up. I'm going to put this video up on YouTube, so you can go there and you can pause screen and look at those. Or as soon as I get LayLaw website up, we'll be able to load those there. But we've had some problems with getting that site up. So should have been up months ago, and we had it almost ready, and then they completely tore my site apart, and I went berserko. So it's almost put back together now, and as soon as we can get that up, we'll have as many as we can put there. Any other questions?
No.
If you have questions, just unmute yourself. Okay, anybody have any suggestion of anything they want me to talk about next week? Anything, anybody have a case they want information about or something?
No.
Okay, anybody?
They basically stole everything from me, and now they have a recent. Well, they killed one of my cats and stole the one, and I just am, what I want to sue them, but I just don't know. I don't want to go there and have them just screw me over again,
Okay, who is they?
It was the Wenatchee Police Department and their contract seller. And the accident was not my fault. And I had AAA, and they impounded my vehicle and stole everything from me. And I was left on the side of the road in my pajamas with 2 cats and a cat carrier.
Okay. So
And I'm still, I have never really financially recovered from that. And they keep giving me tickets and stuff. And, they left me a street it was about probably 6 months. And then, I'm on my 4th vehicle now because they keep vandalizing my vehicles and everything.
okay. So you said that's the county? Was it like the sheriffs or constables or local cops or who?
Pardon me?
Who was it? The city cops, sheriffs, constables? Who was it that took your car?
It was city police officers, but then I had a ticket, which turned out to be an illegal ticket to begin with, and so they made me go to another county, and they had a prosecutor basically tell them that they could steal everything from me, and I had an attorney to begin with, but I had no attorney or anyone, I didn't see a judge. I didn't see an attorney. They just wouldn't give me my things back.
Okay. So what they have your car in impound is what they did? They impounded it?
Yes, and they basically sold it for $150. I had $4,000 into the car, and I was just homeless, and I didn't want to be homeless there. There was no place to rent. There was, and I had 2 cats. I was a friend of mine down in Vegas. She called me down there, and then they kicked us out because of the cats. And so I was on the street and then they finally paid me for the accident. They accepted liability for the accident. They finally paid me for the accident after 10 months. And
okay,
so
wait. How long ago was this?
It's 2 years and a couple months.
Okay.
But I still know who has my thing.
You what?
They have they put me on the radio system, so I know who has my things. And the main thing is what they did to my cats, of course. But then the second thing is that they stole my computers with my songs on them.
Okay, but
And
let's go. Wait. We can only deal with one thing at a time. Let's go back a little bit. You said um, they took responsibility for the accident
yes, they did.
and they paid.
USAA and their client took responsibility for the accident, but they didn't pay me for it for 10 months.
Okay.
You know, so I'm like, I bought a hand truck, and I carried my cats on the hand truck. Then they wouldn't let me on the bus.
Okay,
so I had
but
to walk everywhere for like 10 months.
okay,
While
and
they're sitting there saying they're gonna cut off my feet.
okay, so you're saying their insurance paid for the accident.
Eventually, in 10 months.
Okay.
First, they paid for part of one of the tow fees, which was $600. So, and they did that after 6 months. So I went and got a cheap car, and they vandalized that. So I had to get another car.
Okay, honey, I can only answer one thing at a time. Okay? If you want to get some damages, you're going to have to slow your roll and do one thing at a time. And that is, if you're saying you got compensated for your damages on the vehicle for the accident, but then you didn't get compensated for other personal property within the vehicle, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. So
and that stuff is turning out. I heard they sold my CD to Kanye West for $2 million. I heard they sold my intellectual property for $20 million, and I have my
you
original
heard
computer.
where? Wait a minute. You heard where? Did you hear this stuff?
Where did I hear it?
Uh-huh.
On the radio.
You heard what?
I know it's not proof, but
You heard what on the radio?
everything.
What do you mean?
I mean, and I had this confirmed by one of the radio operators in King County.
Okay, so what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to file a government tort claim. And you're going to have to sue.
But I also, this.
I think I lost her again. Her phone kept dropping tonight. I think that was her that just dropped again. Okay. Weird. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, we're at about 2 hours now. 100 new views since yesterday. So, I take it that some packets landed. I take it some packets landed because somebody started checking me out. So, we'll see what happens. I'm hearing lots of good things in lots of different places that people are starting to get investigations going and officials are being arrested for stuff. And there was a long time that we didn't see that happening anywhere. And now we're starting to see it more and more and more. So,
Well, we need to see it a whole lot more.
yes, we do. We need to see it until every one of those crooks is just locked up. And that's all I'm here to do. So, and I'm a persistent one, so they better get ready. Good night, old man. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. I guess we'll call it done for the night.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll be back again next week.